And I just remember being so surprised with this trip because I was physically and mentally bracing myself to be prepared to put up with my dad and get annoyed by him. But instead, this his whole demeanor was quite different. Um, and so it made me realize that dinosaurs like my dad have the capability to change. I was so wrong about that.
Three, two, one, yeah!
After leaving the corporate 9 to 5 grind, I became the boss of my own spiritual business, helping others explore and navigate the human experience from insight, wisdom, and lessons learned along the way. Today, I help aspiring spiritual entrepreneurs gain the confidence to share their gifts with the world. Welcome to the Happy Healing Shop podcast. I'm your host, Trang Pham Nguyen, and each week we'll dive into incredible stories of strength, resilience, and transformation. So, if you are ready for some serious breakthroughs, laughs and tears, and stories that will inspire you, you are in the right place, my friend. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of the Happy Healing Shop podcast. Today I'm going to talk about family, specifically more so my trip with visiting my dad recently. If you listen to old episodes, you'll know that my family and I are not the closest. I'm the black sheep, and I grew up in a Catholic family, and 3 years ago my mom passed away and I had to take care of my dad, and it was a lot. It was a lot. And my older brother has never really done anything to really help the family, and our relationship is strained. We don't really talk, and I'm okay with that because boundaries. So the thing about my dad is, before this trip, I haven't seen him in about 2 years, and we mainly text. I don't really do phone calls, but so I remember thinking to myself, the last time I saw him, he was still, I would say, a dinosaur, like a boomer, but he was still very religious and still treating me kind of like a teenager, where it's like, oh, you sleep so late, you need to eat 3 meals a day, you don't eat breakfast, etc. So with this trip, I prepared him and about the concept of speaking your truth. And so I want to prep him and decided to text him and let him know that I don't go to church anymore, and also I don't pray. Instead, I talk to mom and grandpa whenever I want to, and they're there. And so I was a bit nervous coming home, in terms of thinking my dad was going to treat me the same way he always has, like the past 2 years, previous 2 years. Imagine visiting your in-laws that you don't get along with for like a holiday, and you just know to just put that face on or put on a facade and just bear and grit with it for that week. And then when you leave, you're done, you can breathe, that kind of stuff. So that's what I was thinking was going to happen with my dad. Usually, like, that quote, the first 3 days are good. It's like fish and family stink after 3 days. So I wrote here in my journal what messages from my spirit guide, the universe, can give to me. And I wrote, be patient with dad. He is sad, but happy to see you and loves you a lot. And trying to understand. There's a lot of love. You know it and feel it. Maybe this is healing and understanding will happen. Tell him I love you and that you see mom and grandpa. Breathe through all this. You can do this. It will be good. All will be okay. Now, the thing is, this trip really surprised me because my dad was very different. He was more, I'd say, laid back. I can still sense that he was very lonely and very sad, but he was very happy to see me. He did not make me eat 3 meals a day. He did not complain or nag that I was sleeping late. In fact, he was just more of like, you do whatever. He didn't say this. Pretty much my routine was I would wake up, he'd make me lunch, and then we would just rest, and then we'd go for a walk around the neighborhood, and then we would eat dinner, and then that was it, and then shower, and then head to bed. And that was the simple routine every day. And I remember before, when my mom died, people would try to cook or not let him do anything. But one thing I've learned and sensed and realized is that sometimes with people that are grieving, they sometimes need something to occupy their mind or give them purpose. I knew that I could have ordered Uber Eats or whatever, or cooked for myself, but I knew to allow my dad to cook for me because it gave him purpose. It also gave him joy. And so I kept quiet with that. And I guess for the past 2 years, my dad just mellowed out. And don't get me wrong, he still can be that lectury dad. Like, I remember eating in the middle of dinner and he would lecture me on something and start rambling, and you're like, oh my gosh, dad, please stop. Anyways, but he mellowed out because he pretty much during the last 2 years, it gave him time to reflect. And it's very sad to say that something big, such as your spouse's death, is what would make you go through all these emotions, grieve, and reflect at life. The thing that he told me was that everything dies, everything ends. And him being religious, he says, there's only one thing that is constant, and that is God. So, so there's that. But it's true though. Things end, things die. And I just remember being so surprised with this trip because I was physically and mentally bracing myself to be prepared to put up with my dad and get annoyed by him. But instead, his whole demeanor was quite different. And so it made me realize that dinosaurs like my dad have the capability to change. I was so wrong about that. Okay, so at the airport, I started journaling to kind of process everything that kind of went on. And I'd like to share, and this is what I wrote. So surprised of dad mellowing out. My theory was pretty spot on. Death, time, not seeing me for 2 years was hard and very sad on him. I felt his loneliness and sadness greatly. I'm glad he gardens and has a friend nearby, but I know I am not his caretaker. Instead of feeling only relief when I left him to go home, I also felt sadness, great sadness for him. But it's through death and great grief or any huge life event where huge transformation happens. Part of me wishes you were dead to be at peace with mom, but apparently it's not your time yet. Oh, another thing I want to point out was a discussion I had with him is bring up again, I don't want kids, or I don't go to church, or I don't pray. And he just said, okay, that's it. It was just like acceptance. I do sense a little bit of him maybe feeling a bit defeated, like what does it matter anymore? And I know that other people who've lost a loved one, especially right after they lost a loved one, if they have to go back to work, they are kind of numb thinking, and there's deadlines at work or things to do. They kind of struggle to adjust being back at work because of that thought, like why does any of this matter anymore? I am back to my letter, back to my journaling here. Okay, I'm surprised at how mellow you are and reflecting back on your life and what you did wrong or what you regret. Things I'm glad I'm learning or have learned at an earlier age than you. Because of this new version of you, which is not as annoying, maybe I can visit once a year instead of spacing it out to every 2 years. Maybe because you're more receptive and open, there can be healing with us. Because at the end of the day, you lost the love of your life unexpectedly and visit her grave. And because of that, you don't want me to be the next person you lose because you don't have much left to live for. I am conflicted of feeling sad for you and wanting to help you, but also knowing my limits and boundaries, being around you and spending time with you in person. So that's a bit mumble jumble of my thoughts, my raw thoughts at the airport when I was jotting all this down. I want to thank you for being on this journey with me as I navigate family dynamics. I know many of you have similar situations where family is not the easiest or to deal with. They're complicated. There's a lot of many multifaceted layers that are involved. And I hope that you see from my story that maybe there is hope out there. There is hope for change and improvement and growth. and that it is maybe possible for some people. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, and also check out our free blog and resources at thehappyhealingshop.com. If you're looking for an amazing and cool spiritual community to join with people that totally understand you and also understand having weird or complicated family dynamics, make sure to check out the Happy Healing Club, where we also have monthly healing events and workshops, our fun happy hour, our archive of guided meditations, and also you'll get our copy of our Shadow Work Self-Healing Journal. I'll include all the links down below in the show notes. And finally, with that, always remember to shine your light brightly and to share your story, because you never know who it can help, give hope to, or inspire to create a change in their own world. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I'll see you next time.